Welcome back, everybody. You're watching Sticks and Glue, episode 4. Thanks again to everybody who's been checking out the show, dropping me a note to let me know what you think. I'm enjoying doing it most of the time. Sometimes it's a little daunting to turn on a camera, not really knowing exactly what you're going to say, and then just sort of winging it. As you've probably noticed, I'm not editing the shows. I'm basically doing one take, first take, and posting things. So, that's a little scary, doing it without a net. But hey, it is what it is, and I'm liking it. I have been keeping a list of little index cards with some topics, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to use them, but today I decided to select one at random. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. As far as the actual model build, I have not touched it since the last time we talked. So I'm going to peck at it a little bit like I usually do while we're chatting. But again, welcome. So the card that I pulled today just says, where happiness comes from. Where happiness comes from. For myself, I feel that I have always had an imperfect idea of what would make me happy or what would make me feel content. I think that's probably true for most people. I think when you're unhappy, you tend to think, well, I'm not happy right now, but when I get that job or that relationship, when I have the family, when I take care of this thing or that thing, then I will finally be happy. But the truth is that we don't really know, right? Like, maybe you get some temporary relief from a thing you were worried about, but then it's on to the next thing. The next thing to worry about, the next thing to think about, the next project or whatever. And that's fine, because a lot of our motivation, as creatures, comes from discomfort. You have to have some discomfort to have motivation to do anything. Pain is the great motivator. But for my part, I don't think I've ever been right about what would make me happy. I was thinking about this book I read called Designing Your Life. And it might be an interesting read if you're in a spot where you're feeling a little stuck, or you're feeling like you're on a hamster wheel and can't quite get clarity on what it is that you want to be doing. These two Stanford professors, I think it's Stanford, they are design engineering guys, decided to create this course to help people figure out maybe what they should be doing vocationally, college students. Because turns out, and if you've been to college and gotten a degree, you probably know this, the vast majority of people do not end up working in their field of study, which is fine. There's value to education outside of vocational training. Primarily, college doesn't teach you what to think. College teaches you how to think, and it doesn't necessarily make you feel better than other people. In fact, if you're really doing college, it's sort of the opposite. It's a right-sizing, humbling thing, because you realize how much you actually don't know. And it's nice to be surrounded by other people who are smarter than you. That's pretty cool. Anyway, they realized that, a lot of people were reporting a lot of dissatisfaction in their fields because maybe in school they showed an aptitude for mathematics, but the real world application of mathematics and getting paid to do that stuff can be drudgery if you don't find joy in it. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean it's what you're meant to do. You may be meant to do a version of that, or there may be an application for that particular skill that is outside of what you would imagine. Um, the day in, day out workings of individual professions often bear little resemblance to what our idea of that profession actually is. Um, so, anyway, um, the way that they kind of break it down is interesting because they say that, there are four basic components to our lives. There is the work part, there's the play part, there's the love part, and there is the like spirituality, kind of overarching, larger, you know, emotional mental health stuff. So the work part, um, like there's some bleeding in between the categories, right? There may be things that on paper are work, but actually, because of the way that we function, are actually play for us. Like, if I am fundamentally a person who is motivated by feeling a creative outlet, then if I have an assignment at work that allows me to be creative, then that can be play for me. And if there is something that I consider uh, a extracurricular activity outside of work, but actually is work for me, then that is not play. That is work. um, you know, and the love component is not just romantic love. It is, being filled up by friends and family and engaging that part of your life. And the spirituality part can be anything that is a recharge for you in that way, whether it's prayer, meditation, actual, religious practice, or if it's getting out in the woods, going for a long walk by yourself, just sort of listening to nature. It can be anything. Um, but understanding that all of those aspects can be filled in the places that we don't necessarily consider. So, this book sort of teaches you to gauge where you're at with each of those components, see where you're unbalanced, learn how to categorize different activities, and then figure out how to find a right balance of that stuff. And there may be a situation where your job is actually pretty good and you don't want to leave your job, but there are certain activities at that job that are a drain that you might be able to delegate to somebody else or find a way to minimize those specific tasks. And there may be that one thing that you get to do once a week at work that actually is the thing that you really enjoy about work. And maybe you can find a way to expand that particular type of activity. But yeah, like anytime for me, I feel like I am looking outside to get like peace, joy, and contentment externally, I'm in trouble because I've never known how to get those things, and I've never known what's good for me, and I've never known what would make me happy. Um, the peace, joy, and contentment comes from inside, and there are things that I'm uniquely suited for that I never would have considered things that would make me happy. Like, I'm an analytical person, but I think that working in finance or science would probably be like the biggest drag that I could ever think of. But anything that involves allowing me to be creative or apply creative thinking to something is something that really does make me feel good. And weirdly, the thing that I feel the least imposter syndrome about and feel the most suited to do is to talk about, being a person in recovery and talking about my own experiences because, man, I spent the time doing the research. Like, I can teach you to play guitar, okay. I can teach you to do stand-up comedy, okay. I can teach, middle school, high school history and social studies, okay. But man, I can talk about being an alcoholic because I did that every day for a long time. And you find that thing and you get to pass it on to the next person, and that feels really good. But not everybody has that one thing that you're uniquely suited for. And a lot of times, it's just peace, joy, happiness, and contentment is a million tiny things, and you sort of make it in the aggregate. So if you're looking for one thing to make the difference, unfortunately, that may be a bit of a fool's errand. Um, anyway, that book is called Designing Your Life, and it might be something you want to check out just to learn a little bit about um, the perspective of design engineers when it comes to figuring out what you should be doing with your life. By the way, I have no idea what I should be doing with my life for a job or anything, but I feel pretty good. Um, I like to say if you handed me a menu uh, and said build a life for yourself, there's nothing about my life right now that I would pick for myself. But I feel okay, and that's all I ever really wanted. Um, it's the difference between, having the life you want and wanting the life that you have. And if you can find a way to do that, then you're pretty much bulletproof. You can create your own weather. So yeah, designing your life. What else do I have going on? I did one stick on the model just now. So, progress, a million tiny steps. I read a collection of Raymond Carver stories last week. That was really bleak, but really good. Not recommended for everybody. It's some dark stuff. I'm reading Kurt Vonnegut's Bluebeard right now. I saw the weirdest movie I've ever seen, maybe. It's this French movie called Smoking Causes Coughing. And it's from the guy who made that movie Rubber, about it's like a tire that's like a serial killer. Really strange stuff, but Smoking Causes Coughing. It's like a band of Power Rangers style heroes, and they fight like guys in rubber suits or whatever, and but with the power of smoking. But it's not really about that. It's like them hanging out and telling weird, like horror, fantasy, gore stories to each other. It is really strange. You ever see something and go like, I've never seen anything like that before. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if I enjoyed it. I don't know if I would ever recommend it to anybody, but I'm glad I saw it. It's sort of like going to an art gallery or something. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes long too. Smoking Causes Coughing. Strange movie. Anyway, that's about all I got for today. I just wanted to get something up and check in with you guys because I've committed to do this. And thanks for stopping in. And I appreciate you. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll see you in a couple of days.